Hello everyone, this is Sung Jun Yoon, the teacher of Seoul Coffee Academy. Today, we will talk about history of coffee. There are two origins of coffee, Kappa and Kawa. Let's talk about Kappa first. So Kappa is the old name of Jimma, where coffee was found. In Ethiopia, Kappa means power. Although people there argue that coffee comes from Kappa, there are some differences in the terms because coffee is now called Buna or Buna in Ethiopia. On the other hand, Kawa is another origin that is being considered. Kawa means wine in Arabic. According to one old literature in Arab, in the beginning of Islam, the cleric could not drink wine. So the people looked for an alternative to wine, which they later identified as coffee. Since people began drinking coffee instead of wine, coffee was called kawa, which, like what I mentioned, has the same meaning as wine. To support this, in old books, it is written that there are three types of coffee, and one of the types is made from wine. Therefore, some people argue that coffee is one type of wine. Let's talk about legends of coffee now. No one really knows the exact origin and the time when coffee was first drunk on Earth. However, there are three well-known legends about coffee. First, around the 6th and 7th centuries, there was a shepherd named Kaldi in Ethiopia. One day, the goat raised Kaldi excitedly after eating the red fruit. When Kaldi ate the red fruit of curiosity, Kaldi felt strong and better. Kaldi took the strange fruit to the monks, and they felt as if they had gained great strength after eating it as well. That's how the monks woke themselves up by eating fruit when they prayed all night. Meanwhile, there was an epidemic in the Yemen Moga area, and the princess was also affected. A monk named Omar treated her and fell in love with the princess. When the king found out about it, he was very angry, so he deported Omar, who was hungry and sick. Omar fell on Mountain Ozaf, and when he saw the birds pecking at the red berries, hunger disappeared and he gained vitality. vitality. From then on, Omar treated the beggars and the sick with this food, and the king welcomed Omar as a saint. Another legend is that when Muhammad fell asleep sick, the angel Gabriel appeared to show the coffee tree and fruit and said that eating this fruit can cheer him up. Muhammad, who woke up from this dream, found coffee beans and ate them, and he regained strength. Then he was believed to have knocked down 40 soldiers and lived with 40 women. However, this legend is not used well because of its strong religious tendency. Okay, going back to the coffee culture, it was believed to be created in Asia first. It is not known exactly where coffee trees were first grown, but it is known that large-scale cultivation began in Yemen, south of the Arabian Peninsula in 1500. At the time, Yemen's mocha was a major export for coffee, and the mass consumption of coffee began in the Islamic region. In 1511, a coffee house was created in Mecca region of Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. And in 17 years, Salim I conquered Egypt and brought coffee to Constantinople. At the time, coffee was strictly controlled by Islamic Empire. So outsiders were prohibited from visiting coffee farms, and even exported water was processed to prevent germination, even exporting raw beans. However, a monk named Baba Budan of India succeeded in selling coffee seeds. He planted the seed in an area called Mysore, and this became the first case of coffee trees outside the Islamic Empire. Meanwhile, the first known coffee in Europe was by the German doctor and botanist Leonhard Rauff. He described the customs of drinking coffee and the efficacy of coffee in a travel journal published after he explored the Middle East for 3 years, which he called Chabe. Although exact details are mostly not known since that time, it is said that coffee was introduced to Europe through Venice harbor in 1615, as coffee began to spread all over the region. On the other hand, Pope Clement III initially condemned and banned coffee, branding it as a devil's drink because it was enjoyed by pagan Arabs. But after tasting coffee, it was so delicious that the Pope baptized coffee. Meanwhile, a Dutchman stole a coffee a coffee seeding from Mocha in Yemen and planted it on the island of Java in Indonesia, which was then a Dutch colony. For decades, coffee spread throughout Europe, and finally, in 1645, coffee houses similar to the current cafe in Venice began operation throughout Europe, including England, Germany, Austria, and France. Afterwards, coffee was delivered from the Guiana region to Brazil, and coffee cultivation thus became successful in Brazil in 1727. The country is now known as Arabica coffee's #1 country in terms of production. Today, we'll learn about the history of coffee and how coffee was spread throughout the world. Next time, we will talk about the types and varieties of coffee. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Thank you.